Welcome back to Busters. That's right. We're back. We weren't here the last few weeks, last 2 weeks, because of some important occasions. Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the fuck you did over the holiday break. New Year's, of course. Some people were out there streaming, doing their thing. Not me. I decided to take part in regular life. And I got to tell you, regular life is not nearly as interesting as what goes on the stream. I feel like the stories that people tell are very much embellished. So when I'm coming up with something to talk about, I try to look at things and I try to decide what is actually interesting. What is going on in my life, in the world, that would actually be of interest to people. I could talk about things like the gas station. I know people like Don A. give me shit when I talk about the gas station. Not that it's a great topic, but the point is you can draw from regular life, but you can also start to look into things too much. You know, like the type of thing where I forget who it was, but somebody pointed out, there was a time when George Carlin started to just turn into, I forget what the words are called, prepositions or something like that. But he's like talking about getting on the plane versus getting in the plane. And you start to think, are you even going for funny anymore? Or are you just trying to dissect anything you can out of something to make it into some other thing because that's the only way you can think? Like, as much as I like Jerry Seinfeld, and I've enjoyed Seinfeld, probably more so the show than his stand up, but I did kind of think that maybe it would be kind of annoying to always have an inner Seinfeld going on, you know, to leave the house and actually have to think, what's the deal with the sidewalk? Why is it on the side? Why isn't it in the center? All that shit. It seems like it would be a disaster. But then I started thinking about myself, and that is what I do. And it made me think that, maybe that not only is comedy, stand up, jokes, that kind of stuff, maybe a lot of those performers really do develop their craft out of mental illness, but maybe the mental illness itself is overthinking. And maybe observational comedians are actually just professional overthinkers. That's what I've come to think about. And it's also interesting that the idea of what a joke even is kind of varies. Some people would think of a joke as, you know, like I said, the Seinfeld type of thing. Some people think of a joke as more of a, say, a Mitch Hedberg type of thing, a one-liner. Speaking of one-liners, I am going to be doing some stuff later on in the show, but that's Sam's bit. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be explaining what we have coming up. I'm just thinking about stand-up, and I'm thinking about how many different types there are. But also, I also feel like there kind of should be some rules with stand-up. Not that there should be a lot of rules, but maybe the idea that you should aim to make the audience laugh should be a prerequisite to what you're doing. When I think about people like Andy Kaufman, they were interesting, and I know they have their fans, and in some ways, I kind of find it inspiring. But overall, I would say that if your goal isn't to make the audience laugh, you're being a selfish performer. You really are. That's my harsh, hard take on comedy. And I think that people should understand that what you're doing when you're on stage is an art and you got to respect it. No, I don't think that, but I do think that while you can take a lot from life, it's just important to remember that the goal is to be funny. It's not just your fucking therapeutic. Like I saw a guy do stand up and he said, thanks guys, that was very therapeutic. And I wanted to say, that's great that you think that. That's great that it was therapeutic for you, but I don't give a fuck if it was therapeutic. I want entertainment. You can pay somebody for your therapy, or you can have Sam do it on a live stream. But to say that to the audience, it's like we give a shit. Good. then maybe when you're a headliner, I don't have to pay to see you because I'm doing you a service by giving you therapy. It just, I don't know. It seems like people really need to. I know Mark Maron said that in order to find his path, he like had to go through a lot of the therapeutic stuff to finally get to the funny stuff. Now, I would argue that he hasn't gotten past the therapeutic thing. And something that he said to me, not that we were friends or anything, but my dad embarrassingly asked him questions. He said that, what advice would you give an up and coming stand up comedian? And of course, he said something. Maybe he just felt awkward even answering it, but he said, make sure it comes from someplace real. And I really don't know what the hell to make of that advice because I've said this before, but there's plenty of performers that there doesn't seem to be an ounce of real to what they do, but that doesn't make them unenjoyable. I don't need everything that Stephen Wright says to be based in reality, or Mitch Hedberg, or even just any absurd premise that Louis C.K. had, before he became the devil. But I just think that being real, I guess it depends what you mean, right? If we're talking about a talk show, if we're talking about a stream, being real is a good thing, I think. Not that anybody asked, but being real in the sense of like making all your comedy premises have to come from real life, I don't necessarily think so. Now, if you're trying to pass things off, I kind of feel like if your goal is to pass something off to look cool, then it's more gross to lie. If your goal is to make people laugh and you don't have any malintent, you're not trying to make yourself look cool, anything like that, do whatever you want. And I am I talking about this like I'm the fucking ambassador of comedy and I make the rules. I don't. These are just things I think about because, you know, uh, I overthink things. Some people say I don't. I did notice when Sam, and of course he'll be brought into the show in a few moments, but I did notice that one of the things he said was that he talks too much. He also listens too much. I need some explanation on that because I kind of feel like if you're talking too much, you don't have time to listen enough. And if you're listening too much, then you're not talking enough. But what do I know? I'm just a 36% Jew. That's something we're going to talk about later. I have been listening back to the show, by the way. Sam suggested to listen back to the show. And, it's advice that him and Josh Jack, previous co host, gave. I just like bringing up Josh Jack in the same breath as him because it's funny to me and it means nothing. But the point is that I think that it's good to listen back to this show, but it is awkward. I fucking hate the sound of my voice. I can't stand it. You might think the opposite. You might think I love it. That's why I'm recording myself. I can hear my voice back right now. It's a love-hate relationship, I guess. I could say. It's a very much love-hate. And are there any good relationships that are love-hate relationships? I really don't know. I just feel like I feel like I feel like if you're gonna say you're in a love-hate relationship, then you better show me the money. We're gonna talk about that later as well. We're gonna talk about the money and the people who control the world, the 1%. Um, I think that the 1% is also going to have an easier time just taking over because people are getting really stupid. People are getting fucking dumber all the time. And I know that everybody says this. And once you're over, once I turn 30, I'm just going to be the guy saying, get off my lawn and shit. Um, Way too early in life. But there are people that just walk around looking at their phone. I'm talking, you know, let's say you're in Walmart, like the consumer pig that you are, and and you just see a guy walking, looking around, walking. I'm walking this way, maybe. I'm looking. I see a guy, but I figure, he's gonna notice something. Um, and he's just looking at his fucking phone, and I can't go because he's not paying attention. I'm like, this is stupid. This is annoying. This is lame. And then just like fucking kids these days, douchebags these days. I don't even know how old this kid is, but I see another kid like 10 minutes later at the same Walmart in the same trip doing the same goddamn thing with something else. And he's not even playing the Pokemon game. He's just looking at his phone. 2 times I almost run into a person just walking around. And I don't know if it's stupidity. Is it entitlement? Do people feel entitled to now walk around and expect you to do the looking for them? You know, it's like, it's actually more annoying to me than texting while driving. Texting while driving is stupid. It's really stupid. But if you're walking around in the store, you can step to the side for a second, flip the phone out, look at it, do whatever, stop walking for a second, do your thing, and keep walking. I feel like these people aren't willing to do that, and I don't know if it's a kids these days thing or if it's or if I'm just in a bad mood because I don't have my coffee. I don't know. I just don't like these people. I really don't like them. But it does make sense why, you know, because I saw the Pokemon thing, the Pokemon Go warning that said, you know, be aware of your surroundings. Well, apparently it makes a lot of fucking sense why people had to see that warning, because they needed to see that to know that you have to look, otherwise you're going to walk into shit. Kids these days. You know, you got to love them, even if you hate them. It's love-hate here at Buster's. That's been my time, folks. I'll be here all week. Go tip your waitress or whatever the fuck. Check out Buster's Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Eastern on Host Busters XL.